What's up, guys? My name is Graham, otherwise known as Graham GSM Matthews. I am using this video blog entitled WrestleRant to run down my weekly rants about pro wrestling, including WWE and TNA and possibly some indie events along the way. These will include rumors, recaps, news, all that kind of stuff. After seeing the YouTube accounts of Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Daniel Bryan, Zack Ryder, JBL, decided to make my own as well. You can follow me on Twitter at save_us_GSM, and you can let me just tell you a little about myself as well. I've been a wrestling fan since April 2008. Huge fan of William Regal, CM Punk, Edge, Chris Jericho, and in TNA, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, the entire Fortune faction, and Kurt Angle. Let's see. As well, I'm a Bleacher Report featured columnist. Been writing for Bleacher Report since May 2010. Uh, been writing since October 2008 for the WWE Universe. It is now defunct. And let's get down to business. Let's see. Last night's Raw was a predictable addition nonetheless, since it wasn't as great as last week, but wasn't as boring as 2 weeks ago, seeing that we all saw the main event of SummerSlam coming between the Unification WWE Championship match between CM Punk and John Cena. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to outlast their 30-minute classic they had at Money in the Bank, and it's also unpredictable to cast a winner for that one, because we could all see CM Punk coming out again as the WWE Champion, and he could be pulling another thing from Ring of Honor. When he was back in Ring of Honor, he had a string of posts saying that he was going to be leaving Ring of Honor with the ROH Championship. And when he did win the ROH Championship, he signed an extension deal for another couple months. So I have a feeling that's another thing that he's going to be doing in WWE as well. So I see him going over with the championship at SummerSlam against John Cena. Including Alberto Del Rio, I don't think he's going to be cashing in the Money in the Bank anytime soon. There were plans to have him cash in the fall, but I don't see him cashing in at SummerSlam. After what happened last night on Raw, I see him probably beginning a mini feud with Kofi Kingston, which is something that we saw back on SmackDown, but the Raw writers expect us to forget about that. But still, they create awesome matches nonetheless. They have great chemistry. They can be feuding over the briefcase, while Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett feud over the SmackDown Money in the Bank briefcase over on SmackDown. Also on tap for SummerSlam, John Morrison and R-Truth, a rivalry that has been brewing since April this year, since John Morrison's return from injury. I don't think it was the smartest idea for having to be pinned last night in the tag team match. I mean, I understand the logic in R-Truth and The Miz getting heat going to SummerSlam, going to their respective matches. I'm all for that. I'm a big fan of both of them. But I don't think it was a smart idea to have Morrison being pinned after he was just pinned last Friday on SmackDown against World Heavyweight Champion Christian. Not the best idea in order to get him some fanfare if he's going to be going in the main event anytime soon. We also saw the debut of a new angle between Dolph Ziggler and Alex Riley, presumably over the United States Championship. I'm all for that as well. Dolph Ziggler, huge fan of Alex Riley as well. They could probably produce some good matches. They're both starting to get used to on the mic. They had a good promo last night to start to build to that. I don't know if they're going to have a match at SummerSlam, but hopefully down the line, possibly at Night of Champions, maybe, the pay-per-view in September. What else here? We got Jim Ross returning to commentary. That is an excellent idea. I basically marked out when he returned last week to commentary. I'm not a huge fan of the three-man booth between Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and Jim Ross, because Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are the best commentating team there is and ever will be. Adding Michael Cole into that, the heelish commentator, I don't think was the smartest idea. It kind of takes the focus off of the matches when they're calling it. Michael Cole still taking the lead position in the announce team still doesn't make sense to me, because Jim Ross is probably the best commentator there is in WWE today. So I would rather have him take the chief commentating role. Let's see, the commentating team on SmackDown with Booker T and Josh Matthews. I am really, really pushing for, after NXT is done, to see William Regal take Josh Matthews or Booker T's spot on commentary on SmackDown, and have Booker T go back to in-ring competition, even though he doesn't like the schedule. Booker T, if you can tell, is probably one of the most hilarious commentators there are in commentary. Not because of his humor, but probably because of his constant mistakes with Josh Matthews and Michael Cole. Because it is creating some huge confusion nonetheless. And William Regal has been improving immensely in NXT, creating some comedy and also stating the facts of some things that he was also been known for and is one of the underrated wrestlers and commentators in WWE today. Still waiting for him to make his SmackDown debut nonetheless. Zack Ryder, my next topic. We saw Zack Ryder last week after many months of ranting and posting on his video blog, The True Long Island Story, also on YouTube. We saw him last week defeat Michael Cole in less than a 30-second match, which I guess is the best way to help get him over. But then the next night on the SmackDown tapings, we saw him take a new role as Teddy Long's new assistant on SmackDown. That I don't think was the best idea to have him get over, as that role doesn't really fit him all that much. I mean, I don't really see how that can help him. I don't really want to see him move to SmackDown this early so far, because I don't think it's going to help him at all. I mean, I wrote an article a couple months ago about 22 instances that the WWE draft has become meaningless. Meaningless because of meaningless moves to the opposite brand. I mean, moving Zack Ryder to SmackDown at this point will do nothing for him, as he's already created a fanfare for himself on Monday Night Raw. We saw him last night against the tag team champions, David Otunga and Michael McGillicuddy, stealing Justin Gabriel's theme song. I'm a little disappointed about that. Teaming with Santino Marella in a losing effort against the tag team champions. I mean, I don't really want to see Zack Ryder take the comedy approach in the WWE, much like Santino. Even though Santino is a former two-time Intercontinental Champion, I don't think the comedy is the best thing for Zack Ryder. I think taking him as a legit threat to the United States Championship against Dolph Ziggler. Those two have awesome chemistry, nonetheless, and could create some great matches over the United States Championship that is losing prestige because of the lack of defenses for Dolph Ziggler. Let's see here. Christian and Randy Orton on Friday Night SmackDown. When I first saw this feud transpire a couple months ago on May, it was a dream feud that I've been waiting to see for years since Christian's re-debut in the WWE 2 years ago in ECW. I mean, the angle at this point has already started to lose its momentum after Christian won the World Heavyweight Championship in a questionable manner at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, making him seem like a flunky heel. And with Randy Orton attacking heels by RKOing them on the announce table, in such a fashion isn't going to help him get over, isn't going to help Christian get over. I mean, if Randy Orton's supposed to be the top face of SmackDown, I don't really understand how he's supposed to use heelish tactics to help get himself over. I mean, he's already the John Cena of Friday Night SmackDown, and I really would not like to see him regain the title belt after SummerSlam. I mean, have SummerSlam be the end-all, the be-all, end-all of Christian and Randy Orton, have Christian go over clean in the no-holds-barred match, and both move on to bigger and better things. Christian can move on to a rivalry with Sheamus over the world title, or Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan's moving on he's not cashing in until WrestleMania 28. Randy Orton can move on to a feud with Mark Henry, possibly. Wade Barrett, we've already seen that, but, that wasn't all there last year on Raw. Let's see, WrestleMania 28, as we speak of that, WrestleMania 28 is not quickly approaching, but WWE these weeks have gone by quickly. My dream matches, I've seen a lot of different rumors for WrestleMania 28. I've heard that that people do not have faith in Daniel Bryan for cashing in at WrestleMania 28. That'll probably lose the briefcase before then. Not something I want to see happen. I see that he can be a huge, hate to say it, but he can be the next Chris Benoit, despite the tragedy. I see him as the next Chris Benoit winning the World Championship at WrestleMania. But the thing that I don't understand is that Cena and The Rock will happen in WrestleMania. As much as I want to see Cena versus Undertaker, Cena and Rock will happen in WrestleMania 28. Presumably over the WWE Championship. So if Cena and Rock contend for the WWE Championship and Daniel Bryan goes for the World Heavyweight Championship on SmackDown, possibly against Randy Orton or Christian, then who is the Royal Rumble going to contend for when that time comes on the road to WrestleMania? I mean, I don't want to see a triple threat over one of the World Championships. We've seen that oh so many times over the last couple of years. So I'd much rather see singles bouts. Well, I guess we'll see that as that unfolds as we roll into WrestleMania. Also on the WrestleMania tap, CM Punk at this point, I'm not really sure if he's going to be a part of WrestleMania 28, seeing that he has or has not signed a new extension deal under the WWE. I could see him facing Chris Jericho next year if Chris Jericho does return in time as for at least a one-off match. I mean, he could be coming back in a few years from now, for all we know. He may not even come back at all at this point. CM Punk and Chris Jericho is a feud that has never been done. They have had more than a dozen matches, but it's a feud that has never been done. Chris Jericho could come back as a heel or face and have huge fanfare because what he can accomplish in the ring. I mean, he could finish up his feud with Randy Orton that he left off with when he left last October. But CM Punk and Chris Jericho would be off the charts for next year. Chris Jericho versus Undertaker would also be an awesome match to finish off the streak, as Undertaker I don't think will be seen anytime soon until WrestleMania, especially after Jericho's comments last night on Twitter towards CM Punk. That is something that will be controversial nonetheless, and I want to see something happen next with Chris Jericho and Punk. Jericho and Miz is something that I would also love to see. What else? Christian versus Daniel Bryan is the World Heavyweight Championship match I would love to see unfold. CM Punk versus Triple H is also another huge possibility. I see the best route is for CM Punk to turn tweener in a way, much like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and to take on the heel Triple H come WrestleMania 28. I mean, I'm not sure if they can stretch the rivalry for that long, seeing it's SummerSlam right now, and they're feuding right now. I'm not seeing if they can stretch it that long until WrestleMania 28. Other random topics. The new Nexus officially died last night. Or I just hate calling it the new Nexus. I'm just going to call it Nexus. Last night, David Otunga and Michael McGillicuddy during their tag team match did not come out with the Nexus armbands, did not come out with any Nexus logos, Titantrons, themes, whatever. I mean, by this point, it's officially dead. I'm really, really hoping for and anticipating a title change for whoever takes the titles from Otunga and McGillicuddy. I don't care if it's Ryder and Hawkins, Ryder and Santino, the Usos. I mean, just get the titles off Otunga and McGillicuddy. They are horrible, horrible champions. They rarely ever defend their championships. I can only recall one time that they've defended their titles against the Usos this past Friday night on SmackDown since they won the titles in May. Otunga is boring in the ring, and McGillicuddy is boring on the mic. I mean, both of them are a boring tag team. They can't wrestle. McGillicuddy can wrestle, but he isn't using his father's name for some reason. I mean, he wants to distance himself from him, which is a little weird, because I think if he used his own father's name, he could be so much a bigger star, maybe a future Intercontinental Champion. But at this point, I really would like to see them lose the tag titles and move on to bigger things, or go back to improve in FCW. Also, Mason Ryan is injured. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Mason Ryan. He's a Batista look-alike at this point. I mean, nobody likes him. He can't wrestle. He can't talk, unlike the tag team of McGillicuddy and Otunga. I mean, it's a good thing that he should just stay in FCW for the meantime. And as for CM Punk has totally distanced himself from the new Nexus in the last couple of weeks. No armband. By this point, the Nexus is officially dead, which is something that I never wanted to see, but seeing that they aren't using We Are One anymore, I mean, I guess it's for the best. Move on to bigger and better things. Also, Skip Sheffield, speaking of Nexus, has been out with an ankle injury, for the past 11 months since after SummerSlam. He's had 3 consecutive surgeries, and according to his Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff, he said he's scheduled to be back soon with a huge push. I mean, I read reports that he's supposed to be the next top dog in WWE as a top base. But I mean, I don't see how much they can do with him. I'm a huge fan of Skip Sheffield, but the fans aren't going to be really used to him by the time he gets back. I really liked him in his Monster Heel gimmick in the Nexus. I mean, I think that's the best thing for him if he ever does come back. Because they haven't released him by this point. So, I mean, I think the best is just to have him come back and start a Monster Heel gimmick on either SmackDown or Raw. Also, NXT contestant Brodus Clay, the runner-up for NXT Season 4, is scheduled to return soon as well. We last saw him at Extreme Rules in the World Championship match between Christian and Del Rio, aiding Del Rio. He had to get stitches after that match after being injured, but was off to film a movie. The name I can't recall, but he did return last night in a dark match before the Raw tapings, defeating a local athlete. So I think in the meantime he should return to SmackDown. I don't see that much for him on SmackDown, but he can possibly start a feud with Kane when they return, or Big Show, or start a tag team with Mark Henry. Something. Because I see potential in him. He has a multimedia power as well, being Snoop Dogg's former bodyguard. He has potential to become a star on SmackDown. That goes for Jinder Mahal as well. I believe that he is the second coming of Muhammad Hassan. Definitely after last week's SmackDown, gaining major heat for speaking in Indian, Arabic. I'm sorry if I offend anyone because I'm not really sure what he was speaking in. I mean, that makes me look like an idiot, but I'm not really sure. With the great Khali by his side, I'm really especially happy that Khali finally turned heel after all of these years. Jinder Mahal has something to prove on SmackDown. He's only had a few matches, and I think it's time for a big angle to unfold with Jinder Mahal. Probably Daniel Bryan's currently occupied at the moment. Maybe Justin Gabriel. I mean, Jinder Mahal, from reports that I've read, needs some seasoning in the ring. So, I mean, I see potential in him to become a future World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown. So we'll see as that unfolds in the coming weeks on Friday nights. Let's see here as well. Johnny Curtis, another rambling here. Johnny Curtis has been airing vignettes for his debut on SmackDown, or promos backstage. Not really sure what the deal with him was. I mean, I really think he should have earned his tag team championship with R-Truth, and not giving it to him kind of takes out the logic of NXT, seeing that Caval got released and Caitlyn never really got anything for winning NXT, and Wade Barrett lost his world title shot. So at this point, I don't really see what the point of NXT is. But anyway, Johnny Curtis, he could become something on SmackDown if they give him enough time to do good in the ring and to develop as a character. He could become something of R-Truth. I mean, I wouldn't mind to see them being paired together, but Johnny Curtis better prepare to debut soon, because if he doesn't, he's just going to be forgotten. His promos will be gone to waste, and we'll just go back to FCW just to find himself released. There was a promo that was supposed to air last Tuesday on SmackDown, when they taped SmackDown, that he was supposed to debut this Friday night on SmackDown, but I guess that was taken out for some reason, one or another. The Divas division as well is starting to heat up. I mean, I'm not all for the idea of Kelly being Divas champion, but I mean, it's something, because she has worked 5 years for this gold and has finally earned it. I mean, her feud with the Bellas was organized but horrendous because neither of them can wrestle. But I'm really looking forward to her matchup with Beth Phoenix at SummerSlam, because last night a Battle Royal was used to crown a new contender for the Divas Championship. Everyone thought Eve, as myself was included, but Beth came out victorious. And as much as I like Beth face, she is a monster heel and won 3 women's championships as a heel. And turning her heel last night was probably the best idea to give her a renewed push on Monday nights. I would love to see her take the title and hold it until WrestleMania 28, so she could face Karma upon her return. And that's a dream match just waiting to happen. Some other random rants here. Trent Beretta and Heath Slater had a pretty good match last week on Superstars, with Heath Slater debuting a new country gimmick. I'm not all for that idea. Heath Slater and Heath Slater and Trent Beretta have good chemistry, but Heath Slater is a horrible talker on the mic. I don't know why they continue to give him a microphone every time he's in the ring. He has a horrible look. His hair makes me want to punch him in the face. The best thing for him, I mean, he had a good match with Daniel Bryan a couple weeks on SmackDown. I think the best thing for him at this point is just to repackage him something other than something Southern. I mean, because even though that's who he is, I mean, it doesn't. His music is horrendous as well. He had awesome theme music before entitled Black and White, Black or White, I mean, and repackaging as this won't do any good for him. I mean, I found it hilarious when they were cutting to commercial on WWE.com last week during Superstars, and a fan exclaimed, "I hate you, Heath Slater." That was absolutely hilarious. Which goes to show that Heath Slater really has no future in SmackDown if he doesn't repackage himself soon. Justin Gabriel, I could see having a future on SmackDown, even though Nexus took his theme song, which I thought was pretty cool. The theme song that he used to have. But the repackaging of Justin Gabriel could go along well if done right. And with lack of faces on SmackDown right now, with Kane gone, Daniel Bryan currently Money in the Bank, and Randy Orton acting as a heel. I mean, I think it's time for Justin Gabriel to finally step up and to finally get his championship push that he deserves. Probably an Intercontinental. I'd love to see him versus Daniel Bryan, him versus Kane, him versus Wade Barrett versus Sheamus. Speaking of Sheamus, Sheamus just came off a recent face turn on Friday Night SmackDown. I mean, as a couple weeks ago, I was against the idea because Sheamus is a born heel, a Celtic warrior, and he made a great heel. But since the start of 2011, has become immensely stale, and that was shown in his competitive matches against Randy Orton, something that we've seen a million times done before, and really has no other feuds on SmackDown as a heel. So turning him face, I think, was the best idea to take out Mark Henry, and going into SummerSlam, Sheamus versus Christian could also make for an awesome match. And I think that wraps up this week's edition. I'm sorry for taking up 22 minutes of your time. I mean, this is all ranting, WrestleRanting. I'm not sure if I'm going to do another edition. It just depends on the feedback. I'd appreciate your feedback in the comments below. And as well, stay tuned for future episodes. And also, as I said before, follow me on Twitter at save_us_GSM. And also visit my website at nexterrawrestling.weebly.com for more updates and news and rumors on WWE and TNA. I will get to TNA in my next broadcast if I do hold one. Also visit my Bleacher Report profile that you can visit on my website at nexterrawrestling.weebly.com. And that is GSM signing out, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Thank you, and GSM out.